And once you're settled here, open up the floor to some questions. We can start here in the back.
Hey guys, hey Sim, Adam Zagoria, NJ.com. I know you knew DJ from high school. Do you have any good stories of playing against them, or what are your recollections of playing against DJ, maybe in AAU or high school? And what do you think about going against him tomorrow?
I feel like it's a full circle moment. A lot of respect for DJ. Big up for him. He's been having a great season, and that's great to see. Shout out to him. But we definitely had some really good games against each other. One that I could think about is, our TOC the junior year. Yeah, that was a really good one. So, yeah.
What do you think it says about New Jersey that there's a couple tough guards playing in the second round of the NCAA tournament here?
Basketball needs New Jersey.
Nice. That's a good clip there. Middle, please.
Hey guys, how's it going? Ben Nixon from Newsday. I'm curious for both of you, just how familiar are you guys with any of the Rick Pitino, John Calipari history, their matchups? I know it dates back to well before you guys were alive, but just what's your familiarity there?
We kind of get a little like we see a little bit of the stuff on media and stuff, but we don't really dive too much into it.
Yeah, I've seen it on ESPN and stuff, but I really don't know too much of it.
Yeah. What's the opportunity like to just go against another Hall of Fame coach here in the second round?
It's amazing. It's a blessing for sure just to be able to advance in such a great tournament like this, and to have it to be against another great team is loved at, and it's definitely a blessing for sure.
Hey, Simeon, Todd Richardson, ESPN Arkansas. Obviously, y'all's focus was on Omaha the last game. What have you learned about Arkansas here in the last 12 hours from just watching film and going over game plan?
They have an amazing team, extremely athletic. Just overall a great team that is going to be a great tough matchup for us. Not really it's going to be a great game for sure. It's probably the most athletic team we played all year, and we definitely have our work cut out for us.
Front right.
Robbie LaSalle, Aaron, how much did the gritty style of basketball that you played at North Texas help you adapt to the defense that you play here at St. John's? And did it kind of help you at all last night when it was a low-scoring battle between you guys and Omaha in the first half?
Yeah, of course. I'm blessed to spend my first 3 years of college in North Texas because, that their identity is something like the same here at St. John's. Like you said, the grittiness, toughness, all that. But yeah, I feel like that's my role on this team, to bring the energy. Last night I had 2 early fouls, 2 quick fouls. Going into the second half, I just wanted to bring energy to the whole team, get the whole team going, get turnovers, get out in transition, because, our defense makes our offense. That's what we're best at. I just feel like that's my role on this team.
Hey, Aaron, Todd Richardson, ESPN Arkansas. New York's about 3.5 hour drive away. Fayetteville's about 25. What kind of advantage do you think a home crowd will have for you guys tomorrow?
Well, last night we had a good crowd, amazing crowd at that. The fans was very loud, very cheerful. It felt like a home game, and that could be an advantage. But I did see a lot of Arkansas fans, so I know they're traveling too. So I think it would be a pretty good environment tomorrow, and it's going to be a lot of people there, and I do think we have an advantage with our fans.
Good, Pat.
Pat Forty from Sports Illustrated. I'm wondering if you guys can walk through for me from the time you got back to the hotel last night until you got here to the arena, what all you've done.
So after the game, kind of like your typical coach talks, and we had to hurry up, get back to the hotel because it was pretty late. We had film when we got back, watched film, our breakdowns and stuff from our Omaha game, and we watched some personnel, right?
Last night.
Personnel last night for Arkansas, and then this morning we woke up, ate breakfast, watched film again. We were able to get off our feet for a little bit, and then now we're here.
We're here in the middle again. Get a mic, middle.
Simeon, Vice has been following both Arkansas and St. John's, John Calipari, and your coach, Rick Pitino. I know that could probably get a little evasive in time. What has that been like additionally? And obviously, you guys have a really successful season, but you feeling like an additional camera, additional people are watching you guys 24/7?
I feel like they do. They're like a fly on the wall. You don't really notice them all the time. And when you have a goal at mind that's set as something that your team wants to do as a collective, you don't really allow that to like distract you or stray you away from what's going on. Like we love everybody from the Vice crew, and they've been great to us all year, and it's hard to really like notice them when you're going through like practice or film or whatever it is that you're doing with the team.
Right here in the middle.
Andrew Hutchinson, Best Arkansas Sports. Simeon, earlier you were talking about DJ and a particular game y'all had in your junior year. Just could you, for those of us who don't know about that, what do you remember about that game? What was the significance of it? Like, what do you remember specifically from that game?
So in New Jersey they have they had the Tournament of Champs where like all the teams from like all the counties throughout Jersey, the winners of their county, they would play in like a tournament to see what like the best team in Jersey. Unfortunately, it's not around anymore due to the state not really feeling like other teams could compete with teams that could like recruit and stuff, which is understandable. So our junior year, we were able to play in the last one that they ever had at Rutgers. And it was a great game. It was an overtime game. It was a great game, great environment. He's from Camden, New Jersey, so Camden they go hard for their school and especially for DJ because what his pops has done. But just that game, that environment, we almost sold out Rutgers as a high school team. So I feel like that's pretty cool.
Right here, back.
Robert Rizzo, Latino Sports. Sim, your first experience last night in March Madness, was it everything you expected and imagined it to be?
Yeah, just growing up watching March Madness my whole life, and to have this opportunity is second to none. It's kind of crazy to even say that I'm here right now. So I give my thanks to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and just ask for Him to keep guiding me, keep guiding every step that I take.
Simeon, anything else you have?
Simeon, you talked about DJ a little bit. Boogie's home's also not too far from here. I'm guessing both of them have a lot of family. I'm assuming you're going to have you had a lot of family in last night, and you're going to have a lot of family in tomorrow as well.
Yeah, my parents are they're kind of like my brother. He goes to Texas A&M, so my dad, he's in Denver, and my mom, she's out here. So they split up so they could watch the both of us. So it's great. It's great just to have people that are able to come.
Right here in the middle. Right in front of you.
Aaron, what's it been like playing with the pain in your thumb? How was it yesterday, and just how are you feeling right now?
I think, matter of fact, Sim, he the one who told me it's all mental. Like, you don't even use your thumb anyways to shoot. So I just think just not thinking about it really helps me. Just going, it is probably some plays I shouldn't be doing, like reaching in or, going for a block with this hand. But, at the time of the moment, I'm not thinking about it at all. I'm just playing. So, after the game, that's the worst part. But, it's after the game. It's not during the game. So, yeah.
Thanks, Aaron. Right here.
Sim, you just mentioned your brother plays at A&M. Have you talked to him at all about facing Arkansas? Gotten any tips or a scouting report from him?
Nah, I haven't talked to him yet due to like the time difference, and they played yesterday, so kind of wanted to give him a little chance to like chill. He's out there with my dad, so I talked to my dad a little bit. But yeah, I'm gonna talk to him a little later just to see like any tips to how they went about playing them during this season.
Right here in the back.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, Sim, what does it mean to your family to have two kids and the two sons in the NCAA tournament at the same time? I mean, how proud are you and are your parents of that?
I'm extremely proud because I feel like we both get a chance to represent our families in this tournament. And like my older brother's the reason why I even play basketball. So just to have the opportunity to play in such a big event. Well, he's on the other side of the country, and we're out here. It's just amazing. It's something that we both dreamed about doing since we were younger, and I can't even tell you how my parents feel because it's hard for them to break it into words too.
Did he kind of teach you how to play a little bit, CJ?
Yeah, he was my foundation with everything. Like I wasn't like when I was younger, he started playing before me, so I kind of watched him and watched how hard he went at it and watched how hard he worked, and it kind of made me fall in love with the game too.
Thanks, Simi, right here.
How did your parents decide who went to which game?
My dad, well, my mom, she's working. She's a teacher at school, so coming to Providence was an easier trip for her. My dad, his schedule's a little more flexible, so he could take that trip to Colorado without it being an issue.
You have more questions for Aaron or Simi? No? All set. You guys can head back to the locker room. Thanks for your time. Good luck
Thank
tomorrow.
you.
Thank you.
Coach Pitino will be joining us at approximately 4:15 or so. Thanks. Welcome, Coach.
Thank you.
Once you're settled, we'll open up the floor to some questions. Please say your first, last, and affiliation. Wait for the mic if you can. Pat?
Hey, Rick, Pat Forty from Sports Illustrated. I'm wondering if you could kind of walk through the timeline of when you got back to the hotel till now.
Well, we got back quite late, and we watched a little film. We had bite to eat, and then the coaches went back to my room and got done about 3:45.
And this morning?
Breakfast, film, and now here.
Rick, Jacob Russo from the Providence Journal. You're taking questions in the Bill Reynolds media room. I was wondering if you had a chance to look at the entrance and how much would Bill enjoy this weekend?
Yeah, Bill was a special person. We had a great friendship. Wrote a very successful book together. Spent a lot of time with him, so it's a very special feeling to read that.
Back right.
Kevin Connolly, Storm the Paint. Rick, you've matched up a lot of John's other teams at various stops. I'm curious if you find any similarities with this team compared to some of his other teams that you've played.
Nothing that stands out. They're very long, athletic. Most of his teams are extremely athletic. This team is as athletic as I've seen. This length is quite extraordinary.
Let's go right here in the back right.
Hey, Rick, Adam Zagoria, NJ.com. Obviously, there's a lot of questions about you and Cal and your history and your relationship. If somebody told you 10 years ago when you were at Louisville that you'd be coaching against Cal 10 years later and you'd be at St. John's and he'd be at Arkansas, would you have believed that, and what might you have think had happened to lead to that?
I really never thought that question, and probably will never think of it in the future.
I mean, how unlikely would that have been that, you know, one guy's at Kentucky and Louisville, and now you're at two completely different schools facing each other in the tournament?
I don't know, Adam. I don't know how to answer that question. That's really, I got a lot on my mind. That's not one of them.
Over to the right, Coach.
Mike Vaccaro, New York Post. Rick, John talked a little bit about you guys shared incubatory as coaches at Five Star. Can you talk a little bit about what it was like to be a young coach with dreams and ambitions, first showing up there, and all the coaches that you were able to kind of absorb?
Yeah, Five Star was the start of for all of us. I don't know if we'd be sitting here today if it wasn't for Howard Garfinkel and Five Star. It was back then there was no AAU basketball, and it was just all the players from all over the country, world actually came to Honesdale, Pennsylvania to compete at the Five Star basketball camp. I remember giving lectures and playing against guys like Patrick and Michael Jordan and people of that stature. It was amazing back then. And we all had our start from going from UB Brown to Bob Knight to Dick Vitale and Chuck Daly and all of it. John was a young counselor at the time who worked his way up the ladder, and as we all did.
Here to the right, Coach.
Zach Brazilian, New York Post. Rick, all your players kind of echoed the same thing, that you have to avoid another one of those slow starts. What do you think is happening early, and how important is tomorrow going to be, those first 5 minutes?
Well, I think they had the jitters a little bit, but I think that's normal in the NCAA tournament. It's not a real big deal because we were up at halftime.
But against tomorrow, against a better opponent, like, can you afford to spot someone like 10 points?
Well, I hope we don't.
Front right, Coach.
Robbie LaSella, Bracketeer.org. With the injuries and lack of bodies that Arkansas has had down this stretch, do you think your defense and physicality could potentially give them an issue in this one?
We don't have Brady Dunlap. We don't have Jaden Glover. We have three starters out for the season, three players out for the season. So we're pretty banged up as well. But they're playing great basketball out of the last 7 games right now, and they played a great game last night. Great game in a lot of different areas.
Here to the left, Coach.
Andrew Hutchinson with Best of Arkansas Sports. Coach, Jonas Adu was telling me about how you recruited him out of high school. I'm curious what you remember about him from
Who's
back.
that? Who's that?
Jonas Adu, Arkansas. What do you remember about him recruiting him, and then also how critical has he been to Arkansas' success here down the stretch?
He's a terrific talent. Terrific talent. We liked him a lot, certainly. But DJ Wagner's playing great basketball right now. Davis is terrific. Knox is terrific. Brazil's playing great. Billy Richmond's terrific. They've got a great lineup. Their size is what's imposing. Their size that they can step out and do so many things. They're quite impressive. But the SEC has always been, every conference has an identity. In the SEC, going back to Shaq days, it's always been tremendous athleticism, tremendous length, speed. It's always been the MO for that conference.
Coach, we're right behind you here.
Hey, Coach, Tyler Richardson, ESPN Arkansas. You kind of mentioned going back in that conference. I know Arkansas fans very familiar with you. Some good memories, some bad. Probably vice versa for you. What do you think about when you think about the Arkansas Razorbacks?
Well, Nolan Richardson, we had some great games, great rivalries. They were terrific. It was exciting to see that style of basketball when the two of us got together. It was great, and certainly I think they're coming back now with outstanding players, and injuries are part of the game. They got through it, made the tournament, and now they just beat Kansas.
One of only 6 active coaches to win a national championship. You're going up against a guy tomorrow night that's also in that group. I know Coach K, Roy Williams, Jay Wright, they're no longer going to coach you. What still drives you today?
I don't know. I just have a lot of fun coaching, mentoring young people. I think it keeps you young, being around young people. There's a lot of laughter to it, a lot of hard work to it, but it keeps you young. I think if I head to Miami this year and I mingle with a lot of old people, I'll feel old. So I think I'll try and stay young a little bit.
Coach, you're in the middle.
Roger Rubin from Newsday. Rick.
You're not going to ask me any psychological questions, are you, please?
Rick, I don't think you'd like my rates.
My expression, very happy, Roger.
Yes, you are.
I'm smiling.
Maybe someone
I'm
got you the
smiling
Prozac that you asked
Yes,
about?
I took a whole barrel full.
Yeah. So, Rick, reading up about, John's career, you endorsed the idea of University of Massachusetts hiring him.
Yep.
What did you see in the young John Calipari that you felt like my alma mater should hire this guy?
Well, first of all, I didn't like what was being said about him back then, because some people were pushing other coaches, and UMass was in dire straits. I think they couldn't come up with the money to pay the coach. They had no budget, nothing. It really fell on hard times, and I thought John was the one guy that could resurrect the program. Now, I will say this. I didn't think he could get it to be number 1 in the country, because I know where they came from. And it was a remarkable thing. I've always said there's 3 programs I always remember that just went from nothing to the top, and that was Talk in Vegas, Jim Calhoun at Connecticut, and John at UMass. None of those programs, you look at UConn today and you say, what, of course, but back then, no, it wasn't that way. And they all got to be number 1 in the country, and that was an amazing feat by all 3 schools.
If I could just follow up. You said you didn't like the things that were being said about John.
No, not so much about him personally. What happens is coaches endorse their other people, and then I think he was the assistant coach at Pitt at the time, and so everybody is trying to promote their guy, and I felt that he was head and shoulders above everybody else to turn that program around.
We have a question here up front. Way up front here, front row.
Bruce Beck, NBC for New York. Rick, what is it about the fabric of the club that you are coaching right now that you're trying to take to a national championship that you admire the most, that you like the most?
The what's,
The
what,
fabric of this team. What are the elements of this team that you admire, that you like, that you're proud to take on this journey?
I guess I'm a little excited, surprised at this season. You never know what it's going to be like going into it because these are uncharted waters today. Not like next year's team going into it. We'll probably have more players back this year than we've had in the prior 2 years. But I didn't know what to expect with this basketball team going into it. I was really excited about last year's team at the end of the year. And then suddenly we just kept winning, getting better, fighting. We had a lot of close games in this building. We won at the buzzer with no time left on the clock. So it's just been a great run. We've had a lot of excitement. And the best part about it is you see the players, because it was a prophetic moment for me when I told them about the story about the young waiter who was trying to get on Broadway, and I kept telling him, to get on Broadway, you have to win. And then once you get on Broadway, everybody's going to know your name. And suddenly, at that point, nobody really knew who RJ was. Nobody really knew who Zuby was. And at the end of the season, they win the conference in Zuby's first team. RJ's the MVP of the league. Zuby's the most improved player. And they all now, everybody knows who they are because of winning. And they're on Broadway right now, which is a great feat by them.
Thank you. Coach back, left here.
Hey, Rick. Brendan Quinn from The Athletic. Because of all that shared history between you and John, he spent so much of his career being compared to you. I wonder how much or how do you think you two are very similar, and how do you think, if at all, you two are different?
I certainly have great respect for him, but we're not really close. Everybody tried to talk that way. It was just a Kentucky-Louisville, Memphis thing. John, we don't know each other's wives. We don't know each other's children. So we're not really close friends. Like Bill and John have a very close relationship, Bill Self and John. So I don't know a whole lot about him except he's a terrific basketball coach. I knew him as a very young age. I knew him really well. When he was living in Coriopolis, playing at Moon Township, I knew him very well back then. But the years have gone by, and I don't think we've been to dinner one time in our lifetime. So we're both Italian. We both love the game. I think that's pretty much where the similarities end.
To the right here, Coach.
Zach Brazil, New York Post. Rick, do you remember where you met that waiter and when that was?
Well, you have to check the story because it was about a week before I told the story. So, yes, it was right near my apartment in New York City at a French coffee place.
Right here in the middle, white shirt.
Coach, apologies if you've spoken to this earlier this season, but you talked about earlier back in the Massachusetts day when you didn't like how certain things were saying about Cal. I know.
Everybody was promoting their guy. They weren't saying
Yeah.
anything negative. He was an assistant coach without head coaching experience, so they were trying to push people with more experience.
In other ways, with the Kentucky thing this year and him going back into Rupp Arena, you have that other unique perspective of being an opposing coach and coming back into Rupp. And I know you put out a video. Kind of what led you to do that, and what do you remember that being like for the first time?
It was, it hurt. I realized why today, but it was tough to go in there and be booed by 24,000 people. And I felt that it was the right timing for John to try something different. And certainly when you look back at what he did at the University of Kentucky, not only winning a championship, but assembling probably the greatest talent in the history of our game, even to the level of Coach Wooden. So I just thought that they should really appreciate that. And coming back, and you just want people to feel good about what they accomplish. And because I went through it, the one thing you do when you get to be 72, you just hate when people get fired. And John wasn't fired, but other people out in the business right now, they're only coaching 2 years, they get fired, and they don't. Just thinking back on Coach K or Jay Wright or some of the coaches early on in their careers that didn't go real well for them, they could, in today's market, they probably would have been fired because everybody's in such a rush, and those guys are two legendary names in our game. But if you go back and you look at their first few years, they probably wouldn't have survived today in this climate. So it's different today, certainly. I don't know, better or worse, but I wish that young coaches would, if you're going to hire young coaches, I never forget this story. It's an amazing story to me because some of you will remember Lon Kruger and the meat hook and those two great guards they had at Florida. And then all of a sudden, they were going to be decimated, and they were going to go from the Final Four to really having no players at all. And Billy Donovan was at Marshall. He had 2 decent seasons at Marshall, but he didn't go to the NCAA. He went to, I believe, the NIT his second year. And Jeremy Foley was the athletic director's name, and Billy called me and said he wants to interview me. And I said, Billy, you don't always have to listen to me, not playing for me anymore or working for me, but do not take that job. They are decimated. You'll be fired. Just wait for a great job. You'll hit it big someday, kid. And he said, I got you, coach. I'm not going to take it then. And I got a call from Jeremy Foley. And he said, why don't you think Billy Donovan should take the job? I said, well, Jeremy, your program's decimated. They're all players leaving. You're going to be at the bottom of the SEC. And he said, let me ask you a question. If I asked you this question, that Billy Donovan in 3 to 4 years would be one of the best college coaches in the game, what would you say? I said, undoubtedly, I believe it 100%. And he said, okay, so you think it's going to take at least 2 years before he could even turn it around? I said, yes. He said, well, how about I give him a 6-year contract instead of a 4-year contract? Will you call him up and tell him to take the job? And I said, yeah, I would. So he said, I'll give him a 6-year contract. So I called Billy the Kid up, and I said, Billy the Kid, take the job. That guy's a good man. He'll stick by you. And the rest, obviously, was history. But he got a long time to prove himself, and today it doesn't happen that way. So if you're going to invest in a young coach like a Billy Donovan or whoever, you got to give him time to build this thing.
Thanks. Coach, here to the right, John.
I don't know why I'm saying all that, by the way.
We got time.
It's a good segue, Coach. John Fanta, Fox Sports, because when a story like that happens, I know you're out to beat the opponent in front of you tomorrow. You know, on this side, that's the psychologist and company, not exactly what we do. That being said, you and the program that are playing tomorrow agreed to do this Vice docuseries. Like, if this thing wins an Emmy, is there anything in the clause that gives you an extra cut here?
Yeah, it is kind of funny that both the 2 programs with Vice are doing this, and it's been a lot of fun for us. They're great to work with. It's been a lot of fun, and it was supposed to run out, and we have one more episode now because of the tournament, which is great. So it's the fact that we're meeting each other is kind of interesting.
Just a quick follow. You said that the journey of this season, you couldn't have even foreseen 31-4, and the 4 are by 7 points. Has this been the most surprising season of your career?
Yes, only because you just don't know. I didn't know what to expect. Every year I've been coaching, I sort of have a feel how good we're going to be, and you just don't. We didn't know about RJ's development coming off shin surgery. You didn't know how would Zuby now do as a starter. What would Aaron be like from North Texas? Kadari Richmond coming from Seton Hall. We knew he was going to be good. That was the one proven commodity. So it's been great. You want it to keep going, certainly. But unless you win the national championship, it's going to come to an end. And so hopefully we can keep it going.
2 quick ones here, right in the back.
Coach, JP Smallins, WPRI in Providence. Question philosophical, not too deep, but teaching toughness. Your calling card for this team is toughness. How do you do that?
Well, I think you got to have tough practices. I think you teach toughness by never giving up in the game, regardless of what the score is. We've had over the years, some amazing comebacks because of toughness, of not giving in to being down in games. I think that's why when we get down in games, we don't panic. We just realize we're going to come back because we're tough players. Now, you can get beat by anyone, but we're very confident that we're going to fight to the end, and we practice tough. We believe in being tough people. We recruit that way. Pretty much it.
Front right.
Robbie Lasella, Bracketeer.org. I want to go back to your comments on coaches being fired after 2 years. That just happened to Tobin Anderson at Iona. I was wondering if you had any thoughts on that. Was it too early, potentially, in your opinion?
Well, I don't know what goes into why they let people go, so I would be commenting the wrong way. I just believe that with all situations, if you're going to hire somebody, you got to give them time to develop with young coaches. Now, Tobin's not a young coach. He's someone who's been a head coach before. So I can't tell you why he was fired. I don't know anything about it. Haven't followed it really. I just would like to see coaches get the full opportunity to develop the programs. And today, it's not going to happen. So what I want is irrelevant. It's just not going to happen in this climate, professionally as well as college. You know, I just had one of my assistants was in the Final Four a year ago, and he just got fired, Kevin Keats. He was in the Final Four a year ago. You know, the kiss of death sometime in the NBA is when you win Coach of the Year. You know, a year later you get fired. It's just, I don't like to see any coach get fired unless he has the opportunity to prove himself. This is a very nervous day for me. Not because of Arkansas, but because my son's playing tonight. I'm a bundle of nerves right now because I'll sit there with my grandchildren tonight and we'll watch the game. And I know what he's in for because I know Marquette very well, and I'm just hoping that the Lobos are ready.
Take one last one, Coach. Get you anyway, right here to the left.
Coach, you told a pretty good story about Billy Donovan there. Funny enough, at lunch there was a Providence Billy Donovan bobblehead that I was eating next to, which I thought was pretty entertaining. But I thought, like, researching St. John's, just seeing who your team is this week, there was an old video of you coaching Billy back at Providence that you've probably seen before, and you just obviously recounted a story there when you've had multiple years, decades of coaching experience. Do you allow yourself to go back and reminisce on some of the good times, even during a tense time with your son playing tonight and obviously the game tomorrow?
You know, with Providence I do because I've always said every step along the way there's a job that you learn something from that sticks with you forever. With Providence, what I learned was I never stopped dreaming. If you would have seen the program at that time and the players at that time, and then 2 years later they go to a Final Four, I could never stop dreaming. I could believe anything is possible after witnessing the transformation of not only the players, the program, but what they accomplished. And Billy Donovan is the perfect example of seeing a body transform into someone who's averaging 4 minutes a game to one of the best guards in the nation, going from an obscure name that nobody even knew about. I tried to promote him to Northeastern and Fairfield, and coaches said, we got much better at that level. We can't take him because he wanted to transfer. And he turned into Billy the Kid and carried us on his back to a Final Four with his teammates. So I always learn something from each place, and from Providence, I never stopped dreaming. I always believed that anything is possible because of that Providence College basketball team. And his jersey's hanging in the rafters, going in the Hall of Fame. So many, I don't think I ever forget anything about Providence. My only regret was I didn't have the ability to coach more than 2 years here.
Thanks for your time, Coach. Good luck
Thank
tomorrow.
you.
Appreciate it.